So if you want to see the framework, you can see here hybrid framework and hybrid framework utils. This is the framework code available here and the framework theory available here. So these two you can find out here very clearly. Okay, let's go to the first framework theory part. Let's understand the framework theory part. Then we'll go for the, while designing the code, we can see the hybrid framework utils one by one. Okay. So what is framework? So till now we have seen plain automation test script, how to write. JUnit, using JUnit framework, how to write the test cases. Using TestNG, how to write the test cases, we have seen. Now, generally you will work in the real time with a hybrid framework. Hybrid framework is nothing but a customized framework. Not necessary only these folders must be there. But apart from this, they will add more extra folders also. That I'm going to show you entire structure. Let's see here. What is a framework first? Why do you need a framework? And what are the different type of frameworks? And we have, so that we'll see one by one. So framework is nothing but a set of instructions or guidelines. Okay, a set of instructions or guidelines. You will follow them, those guidelines and instructions, to arrange the code in a proper folder structure. Basically, in a proper folder structure, you will arrange that. So you will arrange the code in a proper folder structure. That is called a framework. So then what are the features of a framework? So framework is going to give you reusability of the code. So you can reuse the code. You can reuse the code. Maintenance of code is very easy. You can maintain the code very easily. It provides the reports. So basically, framework will provides the reports, logs, and screenshots. What are reports? So what are mean by reports? So reports are nothing but just how many test cases passed, how many test cases failed. That is the no. So reports means, and number of test cases are ran, number of test cases passed, number of test cases failed, number of test cases skipped. That will be there in the reports. Logs means, okay, any exception occurs or log messages are there, that will be available in the logs. Screenshots, for example, your test case failed. You need a screenshot, right, to show the proof. So to get that screenshots, so there is an option I already told how to take a dynamic screenshots in Selenium with a date and time appending to the screenshot file. That is the screenshots. And also it's very easy to work if it is already framework is available, like any technical non-technical people or new people newly joined in the team, they can also work. So easily, and they can understand the code very easily. So it won't take much time, just understanding some of the high level code, and you can easily code it. So that's the framework features. So you don't need to write a duplicate code. Mainly this is the one advantage. And what are the different frameworks? Data-driven framework, keyword-driven framework, hybrid framework. So data-driven framework, keyword-driven framework, hybrid framework. So these are the different frameworks, and also BDD Cucumber framework. So BDD approach is there. There is one more BDD approach. So there is one more BDD approach. So BDD approach means behavior-driven data, so development. Behavior-driven development. So I'll show you that behavior-driven development. But apart from that, you can use a mix of data-driven TestNG along with this hybrid framework. So let's understand one by one. What is data-driven? Data-driven. So one scenario, you want to supply different sets of data. And this same scenario, same steps, but different test data you want to give and test it the same scenario. Such cases, you will use a data-driven framework. You have more data generation, and with the different sets of data you want to generate, you will use a data-driven framework. And a keyword-driven framework. So here everything will be, every function will be given one keyword. Based on that keyword, and you can control whether to run or not from the Excel sheet. That's a keyword-driven framework. So here also in the data-driven, the data you will keep in the Excel sheet. From Excel sheet, you will read the data. That I'll show you here, okay? That I'll show you how to read the data from Excel sheet to your program. Data-driven we have done using, just, storing the data in the data provider annotation using TestNG data provider annotation, and you supply to a test method. That's what we have seen in the TestNG framework. So, but actual data-driven framework you can do from Excel sheet also. You can store the data in the Excel sheet and you can supply to your test cases. So that's the one approach of a data-driven framework. Hybrid framework. So hybrid framework is nothing but it's a combination of TestNG, data-driven, keyword-driven, and page object model design pattern. So these are the hybrid framework means. See, the combination of TestNG mandatory. TestNG is mandatory. So data-driven or keyword-driven and page object model design pattern. So which design pattern you are following, they will ask you. You have to say page object model design pattern. Page object model design pattern. And TestNG is used to design the test cases. Already, so with the different annotations, at the rate test annotation you will use to design the test cases. And data-driven is used to test the same scenario with multiple sets of data. And the page object model we'll discuss in detail. What is page object model? Why do you need that? And we'll see that. So page object model is basically how you need to design your page elements, web page elements. That will be explained in the page object model. So page object model is basically, so it will be designed using page elements, or page objects. So what is page object model in Selenium? So page object model is also known as a POM. It's one of the design pattern to store all your web page elements in a repository. That's basically a plain class, Java class. That class inside all page elements you will identify and then you will call them later. So wherever you need. So wherever you need, you will call them. That's a page object model means. And so basically it is useful in reducing the code duplication and improves the test maintenance. Duplication means the element you don't need to use multiple times. Same object identification, you don't need to write multiple places. So why you should not use multiple places? If you use, what will happen? So basically, if you use, what will happen is, tomorrow that object identification changed. Then you have to modify in all the places, right? That is the reason we should not use object identification in multiple places. Just use a class, plain Java class you create. That class inside define all that page classes, all that page elements, identify them, then write the methods for the element. So that's the page object model means. See that in page object model, consider each web page of an application is a one Java class file. Each page wise one Java class file you will create. So that class file contains that page related web elements only, not other page, only that page. So in that page, what are all the elements you are using for your automation? Each element you identify. Okay, each element you identify, and then on that elements, you write the respective methods for that, what action you are performing on that element. Click action, type action, or whatever the action you are performing, that action you write there. That's the page object model means. So the advantages of page object model is, what are the different advantages? So this is a very, very important interview question. So please read and understand this concept. Okay, don't miss this. Read that. Read this page object model. What is mean by page object model and what are the advantages? The advantages are, so easy maintenance. Easy maintenance means, so in one web page, the page element is changing. Then you will go to only that file and you will modify in that class file only. You don't need to modify in all the places wherever you are using. That's the advantage. So that it is reducing a lot of burden to you, right? That's the one easy maintenance. So with page object model. So reusing the code, you can reuse the code. So basically on the elements, you will design the web page methods. So what action you are performing on that element you can reuse anywhere. And even if changes also, you are not going to bother. Only one place you will change. And you can reuse the n number of classes. So it's basically independent. So each class method is independent because it's a encapsulation concept you will use while designing the page object model pattern. So and readability and reliability of the scripts. So you can easily understand, okay, this element belongs to this page. You can tell easily by seeing the class name itself. So all these are advantages of page object model. So how to implement page object model in Selenium framework? You can do in two ways. One is plain page object model concept or page factory class. Using page factory class, you can implement also. Plain page object model means basically just you will identify the element by using this format. So public static final by element name equal to by dot locator of locator. So by dot locator of locator. And so respective methods developed on this element. Okay, suppose I want to do click action. I'll write a method for this element, public void click element. So then below you will write a driver dot find element. So the element name, instead of element name, what generally we used to write by dot locator value, right? So that by dot locator value is referred by this name, this variable. That variable you are writing here. Then dot click. So this is the plain page object model concept. So you are using a driver find element dot click. So this much a big one you are writing in the plain page object model, and every element name you will give here like this. Like this, all the elements you will identify in this page class. But using page factory class, page factory is a class provided by Selenium WebDriver. So it's one of the class so which support the page object design pattern concept. So in this concept, you need to use the @find by annotation to identify the elements, and also to initialize the objects, you will use init elements a static method from the page factory class. So that means you know how to call one class static method. So class name dot static method. Then you have to pass this method has a arguments. You have to pass driver object and this page object. So that's the init elements method concept. So this is how you will write @find by. So bracket inside you write a locator name. So what are the locators you are using? So ID, element of that ID. So then web element. So you are getting the element directly here. Again, you don't need to write a driver.find element in this page factory concept. Directly you are getting the element. Then you can call element dot methods, element methods. So you know already element methods all click, send case, submit, clear, get text, get attribute, get CSS value, get location, get tag name, is displayed, is enabled, is selected. All the web element methods you can directly call on this element reference. That's advantage. Okay. Okay. So that's a page factor. Generally, we use page factory concept only to identify the web elements. So any questions here? Then the locators you all know, right? ID name, class name, CSS selector, XPath, tag name, link text, partial link text. These are the locators. Generally we use. So that's the how this is one. See that here. First you will create the class. This is the constructor. First you should have a class here. Class below constructor. Constructor inside you will write page factory dot init elements method driver comma this means current class object, right? It will refer the current class object. @find by, so locator equal to locator value, and private web element name. @find by, so locator equal to locator value, private web element name. @find by, so this all how many elements you have, all the elements you identify like this. Then respect to methods, so you got directly element. Again, you have to write the methods. That's why I was telling methods writing is very important. So this is the variable. So variable you are using that variable dot the method you are calling. Okay. So now the cache lookup is one concept. Basically, every time it has to go and search in the web page, right? It will search in the HTML. Instead of that, if you write a cache lookup, so it will store in the cache that element, and it won't search next time. Next time that element required, it won't search. So because it's already cached that element, it will take from there. So that's the cache lookup and quick. Basically, why you need to use is it's quickly identifies that element. Okay. So then this is the framework structure. See, there are three phases. So one is development phase, developing the framework. Basically, that's a developing the framework or writing the automation test scripts. All this comes under development. The second one is the execution phase. So executing locally. And right. And third phase is running on the CI tool, Jenkins. So Jenkins, you will run your code. You will push your code to Git using Git. Then so in the GitHub, from there you can run in the Jenkins server. So that's the entire process of a framework. So this framework structure is common everywhere, right? You have a common structure will be there everywhere. See, there are page objects. One package will be there. So you will develop the hybrid framework using Java, Selenium, TestNG, Maven. If you don't know any of them, please let me know. Okay, you know Java, you know Selenium, you know TestNG. Maven, I'm going to explain. So Maven, I will explain. Page object model, we already discussed. Page object model, we discussed just now. And so this is our web application. On this web application, we are writing the code. There are some scenarios we'll develop and we'll write the code. Now, first component is page objects. In this page objects, you have a base page, home page, registration page, login page, search page. See, every page wise the class will be created. Page wise class will be created. So if that page name, with that page name, you create a Java class. Then you include all the page elements in that page class. That is the first component. And there is one more test cases component, utilities component, test data component, resources component, reports folder, logs folder, screenshots folder, and also listeners folder. These are all the different, each folder is nothing but one package. One package. Package is, you know how to create a packages under project. So that package structure we're going to create, and there will be one form.xml. This is the main heart of your Maven project. How to create a Maven project? We know a Java project. Till now, how to create a Java project, you know. But how to create a Maven project? I'll show you. What is Maven? I'll explain. What is Git to GitHub? All this. So I'll show you that. Don't worry. So that's the Maven project we need to create. On that Maven project, you will create a different packages. All the packages, different folders we are going to create. So test data will store in the Excel sheets, and the utilities, all the reusable methods will be there in the utility classes. Now, what are the utilities? You have like, Excel utilities. You want to read data from Excel sheet to your test case classes, right? How you can read. So for reading one, class will be one class we are creating. There all the methods will be there. So how to read the data from file, and how to set an Excel sheet, how to write the data to the file, how to read the data from the file. That concepts will be available in the Excel utilities. Then we have WebDriver utilities. all the WebDriver methods. We have methods from WebDriver. Using them, we are going to create our own custom methods. That's a reusable methods, WebDriver reusable methods. Then we have JavaScript util methods. All the JavaScript executor interface you will use, and you will write some methods. Those methods also in one class. So like this, you can develop all the methods in the utility classes. And test data Excel sheet will be there. Our resources, there is a properties file which stores all the global properties of your entire project. And also log4j. So you want to generate the logs, you will use a log4j here. So that's the one thing. And suite file, testng.xml is the suite file, right? That suite files will be in one folder. And then form.xml, which has all the dependencies, plugins will be there in the form.xml. So reports, once you run the test case as a testng.xml, then reports will be generated under this folder. And logs also will be generated under this folder. So logs can be info.log or debug.log. So like this, different logs, you can use. So this is the entire framework structure. If anybody asks you, explain about your framework structure, you can tell, I am using hybrid framework. So which is a combination of Java, Selenium, TestNG, Maven, and data-driven framework. You can tell that. So we are using a programming language as a Java, and functional automation test tool is Selenium. And so unit testing framework, we are using a TestNG, which is used to design the automation test cases using different annotations. Maven is the build tool, which is used to build the entire project. And page object model, already we know, to design the page objects, we'll use the page object model design pattern. Data driven, you already know, to do a data related scenarios with the same scenario you want to test with the different sets of data, you will use a data driven framework that you can mix in the hybrid framework. That's the entire hybrid framework means. So then you can explain each component. We have a page objects component, which has all the page classes. The class name ends with the page keyword. And test cases package, which has all the test cases. So you will use a TestNG to write the test cases. Utilities, all the utility related classes will be there. Test data component, which has Excel sheets with the data. Resources, you have a log4j properties file will be there. And you have reports, logs, and the listeners. So listeners basically which is used to generate the extent reports. That purpose you will use listeners. And so screenshots will be generated. Form.xml is the main, which has all the libraries, dependencies we call them. Plugins, so dependencies will be there in the form.xml. This is the heart of a Maven project. So you don't need to download Selenium jars or some other jars. Just declare in the XML format under a dependencies tag. Automatically, it will download the libraries to the project. That's the advantage with the form.xml. So Maven is one of the build tool. So basically, it will build the project. It will compile the project. It will download the required dependencies to the project. So that is the this Maven tool. Okay. So any questions here on this Maven project? So CI means continuous integration tool. This the Jenkins is a continuous integration tool. Git and GitHub. Git is the version control tool. GitHub is a a repository where you can store all this code. All this code you can store in this GitHub. From here, using this Git, you will use this Git. There are Git commands are there. So you can entire code, you can put it in the GitHub repository. From here, you can supply to your Jenkins server. There every day, run the regression test suits. So once you run the regression test suits, and so if it fails, you have to monitor them and fix them again. So fix them and again merge into Git repository, and it will take automatically. So this is how, then once it is perfect, no code issues, only test issues are there, you fix them. No code issues are there, then from here, it will be deployed like this. See, it will be deployed to different environments. So deploy code to prod, or deploy code to staging or pre-prod environment, wherever you want. So from the version control GitHub, then you can deploy, so wherever you want. So if there are some code is not good, so then you can stop the deployment. So if code is good, everything is good, and you can deploy the code to production. See, developers or testers will work, and they will commit the code to, so any GitHub, Gitbug, GitLab. So these are the cloud services, web applications. You can store the code, basically a repository. So version control tools, you can use any one of them. So this is the overall framework concept. And then let's go and understand the Maven. I will create a Maven project once you come back. Okay, let's join back.